there, welcome back to our Harkla YouTube channel. We're thrilled to have you again here with us today, or welcome if this is your first time. I'm Rachel.
And I'm Jessica, and we are the Certified Occupational Therapy Assistants at Harkla. Today, we are going to talk all about toe walking.
As pediatric occupational therapy assistants, we do get a ton of questions about toe walking. When should I be concerned? How often is my child toe walking? What should I do? What is the cause? Why is this happening? What do we do? So that's what we're going to break down a little bit for you today. We're going to talk about what it is, why it's happening, and then some sensory strategies to help.
Yeah, so one of the things we want to keep in mind is that toe walking can be like a common, typical thing that children go through. Oftentimes when a child is learning how to walk for the first time, they are going to do some funny little things with their feet where they walk on their toes or their heels, or they turn their feet in or out, or they curl their toes. They're just going to experiment with their feet and their legs. And then throughout toddlerhood and early adolescence, we might see some toe walking where your child is going up on their toes, but most of the time we're going to see them walking in what we call the heel to toe pattern, where they get their heel down and then they walk in that, you know, I'd say normal, that typical gait where their whole foot is going onto the floor. What we're talking about with toe walking today is when a child is only toe walking. That's the only position that their foot will go into when they're walking or running.
Or if you have a younger child and they are toe walking 75% of the time or more, that's when it's a concern for us as therapists, and that's when we want to jump in and see what the underlying cause is.
Now, what we want to talk about is why it's so important to address toe walking for children specifically. That's kind of what we're talking about here. And the reason why a child who is toe walking 75% of the time or more, why that's important is because it can change the structure of their feet and their legs, their lower body, their ankles. It can cause a lot of tightness because their tendons and their muscles will actually shorten as they toe walk versus getting that nice good stretch throughout their heel and their ankles. So when they do toe walk all the time, frequently, it can cause challenges later on down the road with their feet, with their legs, with their gait and how they walk.
So there are a couple of potential reasons that we have found to be potentially a cause for toe walking. The first one is tightness. If they have like really tight muscles, really tight posture, sometimes even tethered oral tissues, the fascia from our tongue connects all the way to our toes. So if they're just tightly wound, if they just have a lot of tension, that can be one of the potential causes for toe walking.
Another potential cause could be gut issues, because when your child is having these gut issues and maybe they can't communicate to you where they feel that pain and that discomfort, they're going to go up on their toes almost as a way of like trying to get away from that uncomfortable feeling that they're getting with that gut issue.
Another potential reason is vision challenges. And so what we can see is that kiddos, sometimes autistic kiddos, sometimes just kiddos who are like up here all the time and they're on their toes, maybe they're flapping their hands, their vision will be kind of like up towards the ceiling as well. And sometimes we just have to rein it back in. And by doing so, we'll talk about some strategies, but sometimes it is related to vision. And we'll talk about how we can support that later on. But just know that the vision can be impactful for toe walking as well.
Yes. Some of the other reasons might be sensory seeking or sensory avoiding. So if your child is a sensory seeker and they're seeking more input through their body, more proprioceptive input, they might go up on their toes to help them better feel their body. The other side would be if they're sensory avoiding and they don't like certain textures or certain feelings on their feet, they might go up on their toes in order to avoid those certain feelings that they get when they put their full foot on the ground.
And then it might just be idiopathic toe walking, and we just don't know what the underlying cause is. It's just how they've started walking like that, and it's just comfortable for them, and we just don't know what the cause is. So,
and that, I feel like that happens a lot.
Yeah.
for sure.
So depending on what you're noticing in your child, make sure that you're talking to your pediatrician. Make sure that you are talking to your child's occupational therapist
Or physical therapist.
And maybe bring up some of these strategies that we're going to talk about today and maybe have them try some and see if anything works. All right, let's talk about some tips and some strategies and some things to try. We are problem solving, we are troubleshooting, we are just trying to see what will support the child who is on their toes. And the first one is using massage, stretching, physical therapy, PT, making sure that we are just ruling out any underlying tension, tightness, and we're just loosening everything up.
If you have identified that your child has gut issues, constipation, and this is causing the toe walking, then we want to address that underlying cause. We want to work with a functional medicine practitioner, a nutritionist who can help us heal the guts and help relieve that constipation and help identify ways of getting the child the nutrients they need so that they don't have these gut issues, and see if working on that specific underlying cause helps with the toe walking.
If you've identified it to be a visual challenge, you could talk to your doctor about getting referral to a vision specialist. You could look at Prism glasses. You could try maybe putting a baseball cap on to bring their vision down, maybe sunglasses, something to change that visual system and to just bring them down a little bit.
Yeah. If your child is toe walking because they are seeking more sensory input, you can incorporate more full body, heavy work, proprioceptive movement activities into the daily routine, more climbing, jumping, more pushing and pulling. Maybe try some full body vibration and incorporate those full body sensory activities to help meet their sensory needs throughout the day. And then vice versa, if they're more sensory avoiding and that's why they're doing the toe walking, then you can look at different ways to reduce or change the sensory input that they're getting on their feet. So maybe different shoes, different socks, walking in different areas that they feel more comfortable.
So the next one is to incorporate more stretching, more active stretching during play. So things like climbing up slides or walking up inclines. Anything to really stretch that Achilles, stretch the calf during play can be really helpful for toe walkers.
Ideally do it barefoot. Ideally,
yeah,
if possible.
In a perfect world.
Yes. The next one is a super fun play activity that you can do. You just need a scooter board, like those old school scooter boards they used in PE.
Cool.
I don't know, do they still use them?
Yeah, always.
And you're gonna have your child sit on the scooter board. They can hold on with their hands if they need to, but they're gonna use their heels, so pointing their toes up to the sky, using their heels to walk and propel themselves around on the scooter board. Make sure you try this as well so you can see how difficult and tricky it can be, but this can be a fun play activity.
Yep. The next one is a little bit more challenging because it does require some equipment. If you have access to one of those vibrating plates that the child can stand on to start, it can provide a lot of full body input, really wake up the body, tell that proprioceptive system, that vestibular system, hey, this is where I'm at, this is where I'm feeling, potentially bring them back down so their heels can be on the floor. And then you can do some different functional activities, like you can have them put their feet on the platform and they can have their hands on the ground and do like a decline push-up or a decline plank hold, or you can have them do lunges on the vibrating plate, or you can you can have them do a variety of activities like standing on it, playing catch, doing a metronome activity. Just incorporating that full body vibrating input can be really beneficial for toe walkers.
The next one is to get some squeaky shoes that are gonna give that auditory input, make that noise when your child does put their full foot on the ground instead of just their toes.
The last tip is to try things like ankle weights or a weighted vest or like vibrating ankle bands to just increase awareness, provide more proprioceptive input, help the child feel a little bit more grounded and feel that sense of self, so that way they can walk in that good heel to toe position.
Yep. Hopefully,
yeah.
Hopefully some of these tips are helpful. Hopefully they make sense. Hopefully you can try one or two of them. The trick is going to be to use them consistently. Whichever one you choose to use it consistently for a couple of weeks before you determine if it's actually working or not.
If you are concerned with your child's toe walking or their W sitting, or if you're just hesitant at all in any of these areas, please get an OT or a PT evaluation. It's so much easier to address these from an earlier age if possible. Get them on the right track. If you have an older child who's toe walking and you really want to, set them up for success, and try some of these and get an eval if possible.
Yeah. If you found this video helpful, make sure you click the like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yep. Make sure you're following us on Instagram at Harkla_family, as well as at All Things Sensory Podcast. We've got a podcast as well. We've got 300 episodes. We also have episodes about toe walking.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. With that, we will see you next week.
Okay, bye.
Walk in that heel to toe pattern where your full foot on the blah, 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 blah. Wow, why was that hard?